So, good morning to all of you. I don't see anybody who's particularly new or newish to our group this morning. So, yeah, I'm a bit disoriented since I got back from my trip to Europe, and that time time difference is still bothering me. But we'll see what we can do. Um, this week's topic is Samadhi, but I'm going to start off telling you a little bit about my trip. Traveling to a foreign country, foreign countries can create a kind of samadhi because everything's so new and different. You get absorbed in what walking around and what you're seeing and how people are doing things, so on. So I primarily went to northern Italy and France, and primarily Venice because I my main goal was to take some photos. And Venice is a unique world. If I don't know if some of you may have been there, but there are no streets or roads, no cars or trucks, and whatever you would use a truck for in normal, more normal city, like picking up the garbage or making deliveries, that was done by these long, narrow boats. So there were ambulance boats, complete with sirens and flashing lights, police boats, hearse boats for funerals, work boats for plumbing problems, fire boats, firefighting boats, and so on. Public transportation was all by boat. Uh, the water buses, the vaporettos, they were always packed. Then there were the water taxis if you had a little more money. And of course, the gondolas. Gondolas are the real thing, not a tourist scam as I was thinking beforehand. You can see gondolas being used in paintings of Venice from hundreds of years ago. Families pass their gondolas down through the generations, and each family can only own one. Venice population is shrinking. Not so many years ago, it had a population of 150,000, and now its population is 47,000. It's too expensive for Venetians to live there. I won't say much about the other places we visited, like Ravenna, which has a long history from the 4th and 5th century. Lyon, a large city in eastern France, once the capital of the Gallic part of Rome, the Roman Empire, and then Paris. Here's what I will say about these places, is that people love to talk over there. They love to get together and talk. And on every corner there's cafes with outdoor seating. So people, and those are always packed. And and they have incredible public transportation. The Paris metro, once you figure out that incredible maze, you can get anywhere using the metro. They also have designed old streets for bike lanes. So many people ride bikes to get around. And in the old city centers, there are often boulevards that are shut off from cars. People are walking. This nonprofit that I volunteer for has a transportation team. They would die for what is going on in Paris in terms of public transportation. All right, so much for that. On to Samadhi. So, at the risk of normalizing samadhi, I wanted to talk about where we might find samadhi in our ordinary lives, areas in our lives where we naturally create these kind of samadhi states. And one thing I recall when I was a kid, I played baseball all the time, uh, usually at third base or first base. And you're over there in the infield, and as the pitcher warms up, you go down a bit, bend your knees a bit, your gloves ready for the ball to explode off the bat. And then between pitches, you take a break, relax a bit, look around at the outfield, kick the dirt, and then as the pitcher goes back into his windup, in the ready, you're back into the ready focus stance again, ready to move left or right to field a ball hit in your direction. And if you tense up while you're in this ready stance, you will lose some of your quickness. So you can't force yourself to be concentrated there. But there is an element of just being ready, excuse me, in that circumstance. Here's a funny instance. I used to do my income taxes when they were simpler using a software program. And as Linda talked about in terms of what part of Samadhi is gathering things, well, I would gather all my record stuff together. And hopefully, if there weren't any surprises, I might become totally engrossed in the process. And an hour or two later, I'm done. I lost track of time, but that's another instance of gathering or being collected. In my experience in traditional Zen, we would try to develop samadhi during a retreat, though we didn't call it that. But my mistake was that I would eventually start forcing myself, develop tension, and I would come out of the retreat with what I called a rebound effect. I might be really in a steady state where I experienced everything in a kind of slow motion, but as soon as I left the retreat, started driving home, thoughts, fantasies, worries would come flooding in a greater number than before. And so I call that that rebound. I didn't understand conditionality in those days, especially the conditionality of samadhi states. My expectation was that samadhi would continue and not stop once the conditions of the retreat were removed. I want to repeat something about samadhi in reflective meditation that Linda and Nellie described on Sunday. We gather our experiences together after the fact, during reflection. We track our narratives, emotions, moods, states of mind, the complexity of our experience. It takes a lot of gathering, and it's imperfect and incomplete. That's different from the samadhi states we might drop into during our meditation, the kind of states that Linda talked about yesterday. What happens when you do this time after time? What are we cultivating? Thank you for listening. We'll go into our meditation now. We'll have our usual 30 minutes of meditation, time for